Good morning. This is June 22nd, 2021 at the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners Policy Sessions. Our County Administrator, Gary Schmidt, will lead us the way.
Thank you, Chair Smith. A quick addition at the start of your agenda. Commissioner Fisher had asked, what is the county's plans for cooling shelters during this very, very high temperature period we're experiencing? And yes, we do have a plan. Brenda Durbin from Health, Housing, Human Services is on Zoom. Brenda, could you please give a quick update to the board on what we are doing for cooling shelters?
Yes, thank you for that question, County Administrator and Commissioners. So first, a little bit of background. In previous years, the county has relied on public spaces to provide respite for people who need a place to cool down. Libraries, senior centers, and other sites were listed on the county's website. Due to funding constraints and minimal number of high heat days, the county has not funded cooling centers in the past. We've instead relied on these public spaces. However, with the continued closure of many public spaces due to COVID-19 and the increasing number of high heat days, the county really needs to update this model. Social Services is in the process of drafting an RFP to identify sites and staffing for cooling centers, and these sites will primarily support people who are houseless. It will, however, take several weeks to get the RFP posted and agreements finalized. In the meantime, we're reaching out to community and municipal partners to see if we can identify any spaces that can be used through the coming heat wave where we couldn't see multiple days of temperatures over 100 degrees. We're also working with PGA to update the county's website with helpful information on how to stay safe during a heat wave, because it's not just our houseless neighbors who are impacted. Older adults, people with a disability, and people with certain medical conditions are very vulnerable to serious health impacts due to heat exposure. So I understand that this is not necessarily sufficient for the current situation that we're in, but we are doing what we can to make sure that everyone has some respite from these high temperatures over the next couple of weeks as we get this larger infrastructure in place.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the presenter? Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Smith. So Brenda, I'm curious if there's any way, since the heat is now and it is summer, is there any way to speed up that procurement process with our emergency, given that we have an emergency declaration, and work within that structure?
I'm not sure. I can certainly look into that to see if there's any way that we can prioritize this RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Elizabeth, our finance director is right here. Is this something that we could prioritize internally, this work?
Absolutely. At this time, we can bring it to procurement and we can see what we can do to turn it around quickly.
Yeah, I should have the draft document done by the end of this week. We've been working with community partners to sort of draft language that will, sort of meet the need and what the current capacity is. So, Elizabeth, we can work with your team early next week to get this posted as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you. We'll look for it.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, and then I'm also concerned, and Nancy's here. Of course, you're not our emergency person anymore.
No, but Daniel is here in the room.
But I mean, we have a fire brewing over in Warm Springs, and are we going to have more smoke, and how are we going to be? I mean, this is something that we just need to systemize as relief for heat or for air quality as well. So
we're going to
the RFP will also ask for entities that are interested in being smoke shelters for us. That will involve, discussions of HVAC systems and making sure that if we do contract with an entity for a smoke shelter, they are able to provide an indoor air quality environment that's better than the air quality outdoors.
Good.
We're going to talk about wildfire preparation later on this agenda this morning. So
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Brenda Durbin, for that. Gary?
Thank you, Brenda. Now, back to your agenda. American Rescue Plan Act update. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, Nancy Bush, County Operations Officer. If you give a quick update, and then we'll go to the next item after that.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. So we do have a lot that's been going on with the ARPA. So our essential employees, we do have the definition ready. It is now out to the department directors, and they're going to be returning a list to me and Eric Serra in HR with the names of the individuals who they feel like fits that definition, so we can start talking about what that compensation may look like. The status.
What's the deadline on that for the department heads to return the list?
It's the 29th. It's a week from yesterday. Is when they have to have everything back to us.
Excuse me, so it's next Monday's the deadline, but we're coming to you next Tuesday, Commissioners.
Yes.
At your issues to give you a recommendation on what you could potentially do to recognize these employees. So next Tuesday.
That's better.
Yes.
That's a better answer, thank you.
All right. So the state is also wrapping up this week, so we'll know a little bit more about what kind of funding they're going to be giving to the counties. There's been a lot of things that have been churning there. So we'll have that information as we move forward. And then also the federal dollars should be identified the first part of August as well. So all of us have been concerned to make sure that we don't have like double payment and those types of things for different entities that are getting dollars from different places. So that's going to be helping us to pull our buckets together, the criteria together that we'll be presenting to the county commissioners as well.
And when will that be presented to the commissioners?
So it'll be after mid-August sometimes because.
After mid-August?
Yeah, because that's when we won't know what all of the funding is being done for the feds.
We're waiting for the final guidelines from the U.S. Treasury because they could change.
Yeah.
We don't
But
understand.
Washington County's already made their allocations, Gary.
So they're willing to take a greater risk than we are. But we can, if you want to move faster, Commissioners.
We'll have a discussion later. Nancy, please go ahead.
Yeah. And then the grant guidance, as Gary just mentioned, is not final yet, and they're still waiting for comment, and that is due on July 9th. So we'll be bringing the comments from the county on July 9th to this group, to the commissioners for approval before we send that, I'm sorry, on July 6th, for approval before it is sent in to, I guess it's the Treasury that has that and is holding that. So we expect the final guidance, we hope, by the end of August. And that is that particular update, unless you have questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter?
I have a question, I'm sorry. So
Yeah,
Chair Smith,
so go ahead, Commissioner.
you brought up a really good point, like what the other counties are doing, and other than what we're reading in the newspaper, we're not getting that information. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to have our District 8 meeting, of which we were going to talk about that as 3 commissions. It looks like there's some scheduling problems. But maybe we need to just get more, I don't know how we get that information about what our other local jurisdictions are
Well,
doing.
I do
with
have a
their
list of what
county.
Washington County's doing, if you're interested.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have Emily forward that to all the commissioners. I'm not sure if Multnomah County has their list done yet, but maybe they do. Maybe they do. I just got an email over the weekend. It just came in over the weekend on that, and I will forward that to you and the other commissioners as well.
okay, that's great, thank you.
And we do have our buckets that are,
What?
I'm sorry, we have our buckets that are defined. And I think from what I've seen from Washington and Multnomah County, that they have defined like very similar to what we have, but I'm not aware of them actually sending any money out at this point.
Okay.
Okay, great. So still staying on the ARPA topic, there is a request by staff to actually start spending some of the ARPA dollars. There was a memo in your packet with what that request is. Nancy, could you please give an update?
Yes, so there are 2 areas that we have that we run out of dollars for because CARES runs out on the 30th of June. So these 2 areas that we are presenting is very solid. We don't think there's going to be any changes around these areas in the guidance. One of them is looking at a $3 million total for public health, behavioral health, and the EOC. We're asking for $1.5 million of that from the first installment and $1.5 million from when we get the second installment for a $3 million total. That is going to go to keep the EOC running, making sure that the vaccinations are running, which is the reason for the ARPA dollars in itself. So that is a very, very safe, and we have to continue those efforts. So that's what we're asking there. And then for the BRCs as well, their dollars runs out also on June 30th, so we're hoping to extend their contracts. And we're requesting $150,000 total, and that would be divided among the 6 BRCs that we have running. Sarah Ekman and her staff have been working with them closely to see how much money they think they'll need to run through September. So that would be to run those entities through September. They are still, the numbers are showing that they're still giving our communities a very valued service. So those are the 2 things we're hoping to get approval for to start spending on July 1st.
Okay, I have some questions on this.
Okay?
On the $150,000 BRC money, that is an allocation, I understand what that's for a year. or however they want to use it
For 3 months.
for 3 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they going to come back and want more, or is that it for them?
So that's a really good question, and we have been discussing that, and it's like, how do we start winding down the BRCs? And it's quite possible that the end of September we will no longer have the BRCs after September 30th.
And that's my issue with a lot of this. We need to be able to have a date certain when the money ends and it does not keep coming in. On the $3 million, you're asking for approval for an allocation of $1.5 million this year and $1.5 million on next year's money, correct?
Yes, on the second installment.
And what happens when that money is ended?
Hopefully, the need for that money hopefully will end.
So the need goes away. So our wonderful employees who have been working on this project will be doing what?
So we have, some of the staff that we have that we support with the dollars are actually temporary staff, so they will no longer be employed. And some of the staff are actually being supported through public health, and they would go back to doing their normal public health jobs.
And
after
our
this is done.
temporary staff, it was made clear to them that this was a temporary positions available with certain dollars only,
Absolutely.
and the dollars will be ending.
Absolutely.
And there is no intent from our agencies to try to back through other sources to keep
No,
these.
it was made
people
very
on, because
clear that-
that would increase our FTE, and as our budget said, we are not doing that.
Right. And yes, when they're hired, they know that they were hired for COVID, and that when, and the other thing for these dollars, so let's say we only spend 2 million, because we don't need 3,
Right.
because things wind down, that $1 million goes back into the pot for other projects.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. Any other questions for Nancy on this particular topic?
So do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
So I move to approve the 2 disbursements.
Okay, the disbursements are the $3 million for the next 2 years and the $150,000 for the 6 BRCs until September 30, 2021. Just a point of clarification on the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Shannon, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader, Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much,
you.
Nancy.
Great, thank you. Next, Commissioners, the Budget Committee. You have vacancies on the Budget Committee, and staff would like to know if, as in the past, 2 commissioners would like to interview candidates for those openings.
I believe so. I would like to do that.
Yep.
Paul? Paul and Tootie?
Paul and Tootie, great.
And who are the vacancies?
Elizabeth, can you answer that for me, please? Who are the vacancies on the Budget Committee? I think Jan Lee is one. Is it one or just one? Just Jan Lee's seat.
No, there's 5. Yeah, just find out and let us know offline.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next, your business meeting agenda for this Thursday, June 24th. It is a morning business meeting, 10 a.m. You have 5 public hearings. One is second reading of county parks fine and code changes. Next is approval of a bid exemption and authorization to use a procurement method for Oak Lodge and Gladstone community projects. Next is for a solid waste management fee adjustment. Next is for Water Environment Services supplemental budget. Next, North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District supplemental budget. And you have a 6-page consent agenda with likely more from today. That is your agenda. If you have any questions, please let me know, and staff will answer them prior to Thursday.
Thank you.
Next, Commissioner Savas wanted to discuss what's the county's plans for our wildfire season preparation. We have staff here prepared to answer those for you. Paul, Commissioner, but if you'd like to tee it off, please.
Great. Well, thank you, Gary. Yeah, I know that staff's been working hard on a number of things. I know also probably the fire districts and all the emergency responders have probably been working on after action, and so forth. And I think we're getting, unfortunately, an earlier start with the wildfire season, taking in mind the Warm Springs fire. But we had here prior to the Warm Springs fire had heard this, so I was just suggesting that we, number one, knowing that staff's going to come back with the after action, that there's opportunity. But I thought about what can we do to ensure or convey that we are working with all the emergency responders and getting a report basically from them perhaps. I thought, well, we could do some messaging. We could perhaps convene some of the fire district fire chiefs and just have a discussion with them. Could be a Zoom kind of a meeting. But something, number one, to convey confidence that we're doing something. Number two is to see what kind of recommendations or concerns citizens have to maybe address some of the needs they think are maybe unmet or suggestions. You know, we had discussions about that within our listening sessions. We've heard from our community leaders group. It's a hot topic. Well, no pun intended. No pun intended. It's a hot topic, and I think people are really nervous. We have a lot of landscape out there. There's a lot of risk. We were fortunate not to have any deaths in the wildfires last round, and we want to, you know, keep that record going. But there again, loss of property is a big deal. So that's why I brought it here today, thinking what can we do to step it up a notch or two and convey to the public that we're on this.
May our staff give you a quick update? We have Daniel Nibauer, Interim Disaster Management Director, Nancy Bush, County Operations Officer, who was the Disaster Management Director, so they both can give you an update on where we're at. Please go ahead.
I'll let you start.
All right, Chair Smith, Commissioners, Administrator Smith, thank you. Just to give you an update, as Commissioner Savas mentioned, you know, we are seeing low rainfall and hot temperatures. The Warm Springs S503 fire, the Nybor fire that fortunately was very short-lived was out there. We're taking a lot of additional steps to prepare for the wildfire season and coordinating with agencies, special districts, community-based organizations for develop plans for notifications, evacuation sites, sheltering, counter response, and community resource centers. So I'm going to go over just kind of a broad swath, and please ask questions on specific items, kind of where we're at. Started really a lot of the planning with PGE and conducting the public safety power shutoffs to prevent wildfire, and we're continue to work with them on multiple different areas, working with them on the zones they plan for the public safety power shutoffs, working on the notifications that will go out for those and getting templates, an agreement with them and knowing what the timelines hopefully can be to get those alerts out if power is going to go off. And then the developing of community resource centers where the community can go to get different resources, charge things, water, electricity, information. And we'll be planning working on a tabletop in July. It's just a short one, just kind of what the process of those alerts are going to be and what they're going to look like, how is the process of getting that out to make sure we can get those out as smooth as possible. Also met with the Red Cross to talk about their process for opening shelters and when we do have to do that, how are the steps to go through, talking with them about the different locations they have agreements with and the different locations that we have agreements with, either through existing agreements or we've tried to tie that a little bit in with our vaccination planning. And as we do a pod for vaccines, also ask them if they would be open to be a shelter, and some of those locations have opted in. So we're working on auditing through those. Also looking at previous shelters that we used last year to make sure that they are engaged and talking with them about the different support that they can get either through the Red Cross or through us and see what's going on through that. As a quick part of that, the smoke and to a degree cooling shelter question, Brenda mentioned some of those. We have a typical monthly meeting with the city emergency managers, and so we're going to be addressing the topic with them, particularly given the upcoming weekend, and see what they have planned and do our best to coordinate through social services on what that is. And so that's for both this weekend and for longer term on how we are coordinating with those. Let's see. A little more internally, we've got several different coordination efforts going on. In disaster management, we're talking a lot about alerts and how we're going to get alerts out and improve on what we did last year in terms of the content of the message and how we're coordinating that. And I'll be meeting with Nancy and Gary to talk about kind of how we want to do our internal staff and how we want to be able to activate even earlier for when we've got a public safety power shutoff they're aware of, or when we know that we've got fire weather, and how to have county staff kind of ready and already on call, if you will, to respond a little faster on that. Met with the sheriff's office to talk about how we can be coordinated on the EOC activation, and particularly the initial public alerts messaging going out and how we're going to get that coordinating and working with also other social services and all of H3S and DTD on getting some of those initial planning efforts too, and what we can learn from last year on that. Let me see. Right here. And then on the information side, continuing to put out the information we have put out on defensible space, evacuations, go bags, also helping to get that centralized in one location on the county page so people can easier find that information, as well as if we do have something where they can go for information, and if they've been affected by last year, kind of a one-stop shop for all of that. That's easier organized. And making sure that the wildfire map is ready to go and getting some lessons learned out of that in terms of marking timestamps, so people can look up an address and be very clear as to what level that they are currently in. That's a quick swath. I don't want to take up too much of the time of your meeting today, but those are some of the efforts we have going on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to follow up, one thing that and you touched on part of that when you talked about the alerts. And that is that the common denominator between the ice storm and the firestorm that we had, and also even COVID to some degree, has been communication. Common denominator. And, ideally, people can go on the web if they got power, if they have web access, if the cell phones still work, and all those things. But we had significant, not our responsibility per se, but we've had, those systems go down. And so I think people are stranded, not having a communication link, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go. I mean, they may, unless a deputy knocks on their door and says, you need to leave now, right? They don't know what's around the corner. So that's part of the conversation I want to have with what are we doing? And I don't know if that's part of the after-action summary that we've learned. I didn't know if a fire station or some local facility or Grange, whatever it may be, can be some kind of an information hub, let's just say, so that if people don't have communication, they can drive to something nearby and find out what's going on, what they need to do. Because that's a common denominator, and with urban or rural, those systems broke down. So I don't know what we can do to strengthen that and say, here's a list, alternative A, B, C, give people choices to know that if you don't have cell or you don't have this, that there's something there. Your TV's not going to work if you don't have power. So all these things we rely on, those systems went down.
Yeah, we're definitely working on getting people in through public alerts. There's multiple different things they can sign up with for public alerts, phone, landline, email. Those do require power. It's something that we're looking for with the community resource centers through PGE, as well as having an information there on what's going on for that. And we're working also with the sheriff's office on an app that helps notify and kind of keep track of addresses that have they've checked for individuals, and do that so that we can do that as well and have it integrated so we know where areas are that need to be checked on or not, and we can focus our efforts that way too.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head is there like a AM or FM radio channel that people can tune into that can use a battery operated and they can actually get emergency information?
I don't know the specific channel. I know that we do work with the radio stations to get messages out, but I don't know.
Those are the kinds of things that just giving people a backup that they can find something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the lessons learned too is, because everything, it's like nothing seems to be local anymore, right? I mean, TV is not local, or radio in particular, a lot of times aren't local, but it's training people to get back to that local station, and picking up, and then having the stations work with us to get the information out. So that is definitely a lesson learned, and I think it's almost like going back to that old, it's like you need to listen to a local radio station to see what you need to do. I also think that there's a component of education. It's like if you see smoke, don't wait for me to call you to leave your home. Mm-hmm. So there's some of that, that personal responsibility. It's like if you're really feeling like you're in danger, then get out. And don't wait for the sheriff's office to come, and don't wait for us to knock on your door. And if you get out and you didn't need to get out, at least you were safe, right? So I think there's a couple of components there that we really need to, it's almost like retraining some of our population, especially on the local radio stations. It's amazing how many people don't listen to local radio anymore.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that brought up another thing I was thinking about, is that transportation. So you don't want people to leave, evacuate, and head down right into a firestorm, right? Into danger. You want them to take the right path. We don't know what that's going to be. So I don't, again, communication would help with that. I even thought about reader boards, if there were some kind of reader board to say, road closed or something like that, so that people know that they're not going to put themselves in peril.
And we did use reader boards this past year
Okay,
as well.
okay, great.
And yeah, I know that, we have Captain O'Neill here with us too, that we've been working with very closely too, to try to make sure some of those things are done. And the roads department has also helped with those things as well.
Several complaints about the congestion, traffic, and it took hours to get from
Yeah.
whether it was
Unfortunately,
Malala or Estacada or Beaver Creek, even to the main highways in the urban area.
unfortunately, this county has a lot of one-way in and one-way out. And all of you who live rurally know that. And that's very unfortunate.
Thank you.
It's going to be that way for quite some
Yeah.
time. I was one of those people stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Also, Daniel, have you reached out to the state forestry offices in Estacada and Malala? They're our main firefighting apparatuses, and then there's the federal office in Sandy, the federal forestry office.
Yeah, we've, at the Fire Defense Board meetings, they are always there, and so this is definitely a topic from the fire defense boards and the preparation that's going on there. So we've been active in discussions with them at those meetings.
Great, great. It sounds like you've covered all the bases. As far as emergency preparedness, this is an issue that I've talked about since I was sworn in, the program that I want to put together. And again, we will be reviewing that and coordinating with our many volunteers who want to be part of this. And they were part of this during the fires, and they were part of it during the ice storm, not as much, but so we just really need, I think, to have a codified plan. It sounds like it's good, it's going to be there. Soon we will tee up a policy session on the after-action report on fire seasons. I've got that on the schedule. I'll be meeting with Gary on that. We need to look at that, and this board needs to study that, so we're not always piecemealing stuff together. I think that's very important. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, Chair Smith, you actually just half answered one of my questions about the board getting educated so I appreciate that we're going to have an after action. I would really like more information or just a guide on where to get it. I can do the study, but I would like to have it specific to our area regarding wildfire prevention and what kind of policies we need to be promoting through our advocacy. Because it's almost like, I don't know about everybody else, but it's like, okay, I've got all my filters, I've got my fans, we're ready. Because it's almost like there's an expectation that, yes, we're going to have smoke, we're going to have wildfires. But I would really like to know, what do we need to do to prevent the wildfires, and what specifically can we do to promote those policies? I know we don't have control over a lot of things. It's federal government, but we just need more information. And then another thing that's been on my mind a lot, and it's probably on my mind because I have a cousin that's down in Marin County who relies on her power to use her devices to keep her breathing. And they have the rolling power, they stopped the power because of the
rolling
wildfires.
blackouts.
A lot, and she's had to transfer all of her energy to solar because she just couldn't live with these outages in California. But now, I was just at the Aging Services Disability Advisory Council yesterday. We got briefed on how we're going to be having those power shutoffs here, especially we did that up on the mountain. That's probably saved us a lot during that last wildfire season. But how do we systematically plan for those individuals that are there that are absolutely have to have power? And I think we need to be strategic with how we do that, and who are those people? How do we make sure that they plan, they get a generator, or they do, it's almost like we have to organize the entire county down to the local level, maybe activate our CPOs or other real localized areas that people that know people that are in those high-risk areas, and we need to be planful and thoughtful about how we
Well, that was part of
facilitate
the, part of the vision that I had, the CPOs and the folks out there, and they're all on board. Our mayors are on board with this, too. The county needs to take the leadership and I think be very proactive in this. And, you know, with all the issues we've had to deal with, this project is not as far as long as I had hoped it would be. But any information or ideas commissioners can add to this would certainly be helpful. I did a series of PSA videos with Maria Pope of PGE on how to pack a go bag, for instance, and those haven't been come out yet, and on preparedness just in general, wildfire preparedness, and those are going to be released. And maybe if there's something else that the folks think needs to be done, you know, any commissioner can stand in front of the camera and say something if they want. Commissioner Scholl, did you have your hand up?
I took it down. My comment was going to be on the importance of the CPOs and how we react to fires, in particular in the alert process, getting information out to their communities, and in coordination actions, particularly traffic control and go-to shelters. I remember last year, the information coming out of the after-action reports was the CPOs needed to be more organized, more coordinated, and hopefully they've been working on it. Is that correct?
I don't know exactly with the CPOs what they've been working on. I know we've met with them and discussed
Okay.
with them.
Yeah.
We need to reach out to them, I think.
Yeah, we do have issues with volunteers in terms of using them last minute, and we generally encourage volunteers to get affiliated with another organization, something like the Red Cross, where they
Well,
can.
we had that discussion, and the Red Cross will go out and train our volunteers. And I would
Yes.
like to see a more organized effort,
Yeah.
you know, at a certain time and schedule, and those interested, and try to reach out to the groups who were so active in the wildfires last year.
Yeah, and that is an effort, Commissioner, the Chair, that we have been doing for several years. And there has been little interest over the years. We're hoping that now, you know, it's like we have not seen a year like we've seen. I've been here 13 years.
Well, there's
Actually,
nothing
I've
like
been
a
in
good-
this career
yeah,
a long
There's
time.
nothing like a good disaster to get people motivated.
Yeah, and I think we need, we need to, use that and strike while the iron is hot, because those are efforts that we've had been going on for years, and there's not been interest.
You know, and maybe us commissioners too can reach out to
Yeah.
where we live, in the areas where we live and beyond.
Absolutely.
And motivate the folks to do it. People need to buy water and batteries and food and just have it stored. And you know, these disasters, I really believe, you know, caught us, a lot of us being quite complacent about our needs. And so we can no longer be complacent on that, I don't believe. Any other questions for the presenters? Gary?
All right, thank you, Nancy and Daniel. Next, Forest Supervisor recruitment letter. Chair Smith, I'll tee it up if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
This is a request, or actually the U.S. Forest Service is about to hire a new forest supervisor for the Mount Hood National Forest, and they are inviting, the Forest Service is inviting input from local jurisdictions to share what we would like to see in the next supervisor, forest supervisor. So staff has drafted a potential letter that the board could send if you agree, and that draft was in your packet. So seeking your approval to either send this letter, to edit this letter, or not send a letter. But if you'd like to give input, this is a great opportunity to do so.
Well, they have invited our comment, and what I like specifically about this letter, paragraph 2, the supervisor must possess strong communication and collaboration skills. They almost need to be a marketer in a way, be a strategic thinker, because there's so many different groups and entities to work with, and bringing together diverse interests and stakeholders to discuss challenging issues and cross property boundaries. That's just essential. We also listen our strategic priorities that guide the county's work. And commissioners, would you like to add anything else? Commissioner Schrader, you're in the queue.
In terms of staff, like who is working directly with the Forest Service? We used to have folks who would contact them regularly. Are we still doing that?
Martha, I don't think they can hear. Can you ask that again? Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm sorry, I guess my
Okay.
Was on mute. Used to being on mute, I guess, too much. So Gary, who do we have on staff who is like the folks that directly work with the Forest Service?
Most directly, our Business and Community Services Department, our forest team. Tom Riggs is the manager of County Parks and Forests, so he and his staff are most directly engaged. But so is many other departments, disaster management, public and government affairs, they all have a connection. But Business and Community Services is our main staff liaison.
And Tom is our forester?
No, he's our Parks and Forest Manager.
Parks and
Okay.
Forest
All
Manager.
right.
Andrew Dobemeyer is our
All
county
right.
forester.
Our forester.
Got it.
I would like to see all commissioners' names on this letter. If the commissioners want to sign it, you don't have to. I assume so.
I move that we support the letter for the Forest Supervisor recruitment.
Seconded.
So Commissioner Fisher has moved support of this letter. Commissioner Scholl has seconded the motion. Any further comments? Just to say, reiterate all commissioners' signatures on this letter. Seeing no other comments, Shannon, could you please call the poll?
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much for bringing that forward.
Thank you, commissioners. The last item is Commissioner Communications, but if we may hold that, please, to go over the consent agenda. And we have a long one again today. I do request that all of these items go on this Thursday's business meeting because these are all timely to finish before the end of the fiscal year, and this Thursday is your last meeting, business meeting before the fiscal year. So that's my request to start. But with that, we'll go. Those in the room, and you're practically all here, so we'll start with the Sheriff's Office. And I'll announce it and then ask staff to just give a quick update to add to what I read. It looks like Nancy and maybe Captain O'Neill will present. So I'll start. First, approval to purchase 5 vehicles from Withenell Motor Corporation, doing business as Withenell Dodge, for use by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Cost per vehicle is $34,448.91 for a total not to exceed $172,244.55. This is funded through general funds. It is budgeted in the Sheriff's Office budget. So just any quick addition you'd like to make to that, please.
No, sir, I think you covered it.
Okay.
What type of vehicles are these? Are they Dodge Chargers?
They are Dodge Durangos, and if there are specific questions, our fleet manager unfortunately couldn't be here today with us, but he is online, prepared to speak if you'd like to bring him in.
Durango's a SUV type
It
thing?
is, yes.
Commissioner Scholl?
These are the Durango Interceptor model, or are these the SUVs for like out in the forest, for the forest patrol?
That is a very good question, Commissioner, and Shannon, I would request that you check for Mike Palmer online, and he'll be able to give you that detail.
Well, and while we're bringing up Mike Palmer, Commissioner Savas is in the queue.
Yeah, my question would be just, what's it going to cost to outfit these on top of the purchase price per vehicle?
Fair question, and Mike can address that for you, sir.
Mr. Palmer is now connected online.
Go ahead, Mr. Palmer.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I did not hear Commissioner Savas's question, but in reference
Well,
to Commissioner
there's 2
Scholl,
questions. What kind of vehicles are you purchasing, and how much will it cost to outfit in addition to the sales price?
yeah, the Dodge Durango is a pursuit-rated vehicle.
Just a minute, Mr. Palmer. Could you turn up the volume? I'm having difficulty hearing, so I assume others are too. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little better.
Little better.
But not much.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the Dodge Durangos are a pursuit-rated vehicle, but they can go off-roads and they can perform functions up in the mountain and areas offside just the asphalt road itself. So it's a very versatile vehicle. The cost of outfitting those, including light bars, sirens, radios, cameras, is approximately $30,000.
Okay. Any other questions? That'll come up on the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. Number 2, approval to purchase body cameras from Axon Enterprise for use by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. The cost is $1,588,994.50, which is funded through the Enhanced Law Enforcement District funds. This has also been budgeted.
Thank you. The Sheriff's Office is requesting to enter into a contract with Axon Corporation. They're the leader in the field of body-worn cameras. This contract is for a 5-year period. That $1.58 million that Administrator Schmidt mentioned is for that entire 5-year award period. The initial year is about $450,000, and then at $220,000 approximately for subsequent years. That is for licensing, use of software, and access to online cloud storage. We will receive 100 body cameras, all associated accessories, software, and services. Once during that 5-year period, there will also be a replacement of all hardware. One correction, and I apologize if this wasn't appropriately noted in the staff report, the cost will be shared between the Enhanced Law Enforcement District, the levy, and the general fund will pay a portion.
Because we had an allocation in our general fund, Gary,
Yes,
but not for this amount.
right.
There was a portion that Administrator Schmidt approved for the upcoming fiscal year, so it's already embedded in the budget. We will not be asking for additional dollars. And I believe that is all regarding this particular item. If there are questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Do we currently have body cams for our deputies?
We do not, Chair. This will be beginning the program, and we are engaging in the contract process early on so that as soon after July 1, we can make those purchases and begin our program.
I think it's great. I think it's a badly needed resource for our Sheriff's Department. I'm not sure who is up next. Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, will this Axon system give the dispatch center real-time communication via the body cam to any sheriff anywhere in the county?
That is a very good question. I would need to contact the vendor, and I'd be happy to get back to you with that answer.
Yeah, that's important. I would like to know that because that's very important, especially if a deputy has a problem to his own safety
Absolutely.
in a remote part of the county.
I will get you that response ahead of your Thursday
Okay,
meeting.
thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Scholl? Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I'm interested in the ongoing commitment to the storage. Could you give some information about?
The iCloud storage?
Yeah, like how, I mean, just the sustaining of all of that footage. It just seems like it would, because you have so much. It's just mind-boggling to me. I don't know how that works.
Right, and there would be a period of time in which, and of course that would be through developing policies, procedures, protocols, which is all underway within our office. There'd be a period of time at which we would purge data, but that is why we're using the cloud-based option, because it offers for unlimited storage, so that we can have access to that information.
Okay, so that is an option. There's unlimited space somewhere in storage
Yes,
for
in the vast
video
cloud.
footage. Okay, I didn't realize it was unlimited, so is that costly to maintain?
It's embedded in the price of that $1.5 million, so it's a portion of the ongoing $220,000 that we'll pay years 2 through 5.
Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions for the presenters? Hearing none, Gary?
Okay, number 3, approval to apply for a grant from the United States Department of Justice, Office of Community Policing, Development Crisis Intervention Teams. The award value, maximum award value is $250,000 through the United States Department of Justice. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, and might I ask that you read the next item as well, because they are very, very similar, and I will address them at once?
Yes, number 4, approval to apply for a grant funding through the United States Department of Justice, Connect and Protect Law Enforcement and Behavioral Health Response Grant. Maximum award value of $250,000. With a match of estimates, the matching funds for year 1 will be $20,000, for year 2, $45,000, year 3, $90,000. This funding will come from the Enhanced Law Enforcement District levy funds, and I assume general funds. Please confirm, and we'll share in meeting the matching obligation.
Thank you, Administrator Schmidt. The Sheriff's Office is applying for 2 separate grant awards through the U.S. Department of Justice. The intent is to add mental health professionals to our behavioral health unit who will correspond with law enforcement on calls where someone is in a mental health crisis. We are looking at 2 solicitations because they're quite competitive, as you can imagine. So we're hoping to receive both. but and we will modify our program in the event that we do or don't. One thing that I would like to point out, though, we are aware that grants are not sustainable funding measures, so we will actively work on a plan and a methodology to keep this program on board without coming back to you to ask for additional funds. We'll do that during the award period. The first grant is called the U.S. Department of Justice Connect and Protect Law Enforcement and Behavioral Health Response Grant. We are seeking permission to apply for an award in the amount of $550,000. The estimated match of which is $155,000. We will not be requesting additional general fund support in order to meet the match. We intend to meet our match obligation through existing staff costs. If awarded, this grant lasts for a 3-year period of time. The second grant, also through the U.S. Department of Justice, is the Community Policing Development Intervention Teams Grant. We are seeking permission today to apply for a grant award in the amount of $250,000. Since we submitted the paperwork, we have discovered there actually is no match requirement for this grant. If awarded, this grant will last for a 24-month or 2-year period of time.
Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, are there any other jurisdictions that have this kind of a program available? Because I think this is great community policing.
Right, so to my knowledge, Commissioner Schrader, the most local program it does is Washington County.
Okay.
And we've been in contact with them to inquire about their program. We've also discussed this approach with H3S, so they're aware and have encouraged us to pursue these grant options.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Smith. So this is great. I really support this. We don't ever hear, or we do sometimes hear of the successes of the behavioral health unit, but not enough. They do really, really good work, and expanding it is important.
Thank you.
I'm also aware of efforts through like 988, which will run through sort of our 911 and look at different responses for people in behavioral health crisis. And as we're evolving and moving out and expanding this system, which will happen within the next 3 years, are you putting in within your plan a way to coordinate that systems development? Because my thought is that there will be a response that will be outside of law enforcement. Our goal is to not have law enforcement responding where law enforcement doesn't need to respond. Right now, law enforcement is responding to everything. But how does that fit in with your planning for this grant and moving forward?
That's a very good question, and all options are currently on the table. The development of the program, is really adding to it, is in its infancy. We've really just been able to meet basic needs and response at this point in time, but that is definitely something that we'll consider going forward.
Okay, so there isn't a plan as far as applying for the grant of responding to that?
To that specific question?
Yeah, about how the system is evolving, because it really is moving very quickly.
I have made a note of your question, Commissioner Fisher, and if there is an opportunity to address that within the grant application itself, we can make mention that we're looking at that as well as all other options for how to enhance and provide services through the program in the county itself.
That would be great. The number one thing that I've heard through this social justice sort of awakening is that law enforcement shouldn't be working where law enforcement doesn't want to work, in being social workers and those types of jobs. And the more we can do to develop a continuum of response that's appropriate is going to go a long way in supporting law enforcement and people in crisis in our community.
Thank you for
your
that.
feedback.
Any other comments on items 3 and 4 on the list? Seeing none, Gary?
All right, number 5, request to enter into an annual operating and financial plan with the U.S. Forest Service for cooperative law enforcement services in the Mount Hood National Forest. The cost is $71,467.66, but it is funded through the U.S. Forest Service. No county general fund involved. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, I'm Brad O'Neill, Patrol Captain for the Sheriff's Office. I'm here to request approval for 2 different contracts through the U.S. Forest Service. First one is for this current calendar year. It provides patrol services, enhanced patrol services in the Zigzag Ranger Station District, as well as the Clackamas River Ranger District. We've had this contract for the last since 2013 for the last several years. and this goes to help fund one full-time deputy that works in those areas. The second one is an extra $10,000 that the U.S. Forest Service would like to provide us for those same patrol services.
So we have items 5 and 6. Commissioners, any comments on those two items? Seeing none.
Okay, great. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Next, Finance Department. Number 1, approval of a lease amendment for the Butler Building and adjacent parking with the Glenn Kent Butler Revocable Living Trust, Glenn K. Butler Living Trust. Monthly rent is $4,094.25, plus 13 monthly parking spaces at $1,625 a space for a total monthly cost of $5,719.25. Total contract value is $68,631. Funding is through the County General Fund for the District Attorney Criminal for Building Lease. A lot of detail here. All right, Jeff, can you fill us in, please?
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, Administrator Smith. Yeah, this is a one-year lease right now to go ahead and just continue into the building. It's right across 8th Street. We've been there since 1984. It's a long-term lease, but for the DA to go ahead and kind of get their arms around staffing, courthouse, all those issues. Just wanted a one-year lease, just 1 year extension.
Any comments for the presenter? Seeing none, next.
All right, number 2, approval of an extension of a lease for the Willamette Building with the Willamette Building Partnership. Monthly rent is $7,363.96 for a total annual rent of $88,367.52. Discounted 5% annual rent payment of $83,949.15. Total maximum contract value of $273,134.88. This is funded through the Health, Housing, Human Services, Children, Family, and Community Connections Division Operation Funds, supplemented by federal and state grants, and allocated by labor hours logged into each program. There are no county general funds involved. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, this is a 3-year lease amendment. So just continue on in the same building right down at the Transit Center in downtown Oregon City with Children, Family, and Community Connections. And we've been working with Rod Cook and his staff to go ahead and possibly may occupy part of the spaces, but it's the same building. So it's just a 3-year extension.
Pardon me?
Just a 3-year extension.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just wondering, we are in a moment of a lot of change and how workforce is, some jobs can be done virtually, maybe done better virtually. We're in this transition of how we're using space. Is there any possibility that space either here or across the way would be freed up or within our other existing buildings to alleviate the need for entering into another 3-year lease?
And Rod, feel free to come forward if you wish. My understanding is that this division has asked to remain there because many of their clients they serve, that's along a bus line in downtown Oregon City, and it's more convenient for our customers whom we serve to be located there. But please correct me or state others.
Yes, that is correct. This is a building that services mostly direct one-on-one services, so the hybrid model won't work as well with this particular service. So they will be needing space. And it also has the lab, the employment lab, where we invite people in to learn how to do their resumes and apply for jobs and those type of things.
Commissioner Fisher, just to make sure you understand that all leases we're doing now, per county council direction, have a 90-day period that we can get out of a lease. So even this lease has, if we believe we're in excess for the amount of lease space, we can terminate the lease with 90 days for any reason.
Okay, I mean, I'm just wondering if we got to figure out how to get people up here with transportation if we're going to have a courthouse up here. This might be a good opportunity. I'm just concerned that our workforce will be changing. We're not going to need the office space that we currently have as much. I mean, there could be different models and we could potentially save money if the services were provided in spaces that we are already having or required to pay for.
We are definitely deep in those discussions.
Deep space study of the entire campus based on the remote work we just experienced. So yes, that's underway, but will not be done by June 30th for purposes of this lease.
Yeah. Would it be prudent to enter into a less of a lease time instead of 3 years?
Actually, we discussed that. We discussed a 1-year or 2-year, and county council just suggested that because you have the 90-day out, we can terminate for any reason in 90 days if we want to.
And when will the deep space, Gary, is that your Star Wars
Oh,
language?
it sounds like it. That's a Star Trek reference. We're doing a deep dive into space needs of the county. It's by this fall, so this year.
Okay, so then they could potentially coincide if it doesn't make fiscal, because it's a lot of money, $273,000. I mean, it may not seem like a lot, but if that money could be redirected to services to people and save the money, that would be something that we should probably prioritize.
Yeah, this is 2 of the, 2 weeks ago I came forward with 4 of them. So, I mean, there are a lot of them out there, and the 90-day out is in those leases also.
I think a 90-day escape clause is pretty good.
Yeah.
If something comes up, I don't see any new spaces really online until we do our courthouse. And I think we're preparing for that. Our teams are preparing to
Yes,
figure
yes.
out what to do.
So I recommend keeping the lease as is, and we can use the escape clause if the board decides to do that.
Thank you very much. Next.
All right, thank you, Jeff and Rod. Next, Rod, stay here. We'll go right into first Housing Authority of Clackamas County. So Commissioners, the first request is for a public hearing this Thursday, a resolution to adopt the Housing Authority of Clackamas County's budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, the period July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. The total budget request is $74,704,477. We are using the exact same number you approved for Health, Housing, Human Services in relation to the Supportive Housing Services program for Metro. It's $10 million approximately. We're using that exact same number from your budget, and we're putting that in the Housing Authority budget. So I hope that will identify any concerns the board had prior, but this really does have to occur before June 30th. So request to make a public hearing on your agenda this Thursday to discuss and hopefully approve the Housing Authority budget.
Any comments from commissioners?
Question.
Oh, excuse me, Rod, you need to make a presentation.
No,
I talked ahead of you.
The administrator went over it really well, so that's it. We just wanted to note that it reduces that amount, the original amount that was concerned. It's been reduced to the 10 million, which is the placeholder amount that was also put in HVS. So we're all aligned now, and we've responded to your request on that.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Commissioner Fisher, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So on our review materials, it said public hearing, so there'll also be a public hearing on Thursday on this
Yes,
item?
yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood.
So this is not a consent request. This is a request for a public hearing on your agenda this Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no objections, Gary?
Great, thank you. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Number one, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental subrecipient agreement with the City of Sandy, Sandy Senior and Community Center to provide social services for Clackamas County residents. This amount decreases the contract maximum by $23,278 for a revised agreement maximum of $181,124 with funding through the Older Americans Act and Ride Connection. Pass-through funds, no general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, this amendment decreases the contract amount by $23,278 to align with the current Oregon DHS, Department of Human Services, Community Services and Supports Unit allocation and rebalances projected meals served to be closer to the anticipated actuals. So this is basically just an adjustment based on usage. No general fund.
Any comments for the presenter on this? Seeing none, next.
Great. Number two, approval of an amendment to an agency subrecipient agreement with the Friends of Camby Adult Center to provide social services for Clackamas County residents. The amendment adds $19,565 with the maximum value of $247,991 with funding through the Older Americans Act, Ride Connection pass-through funds, and Low-Income Energy Assistance Program. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, this is the same system, but this is Camby, and we're expecting about 700 additional meals needing to be served, so that's where you see the uptick and the increase in this amount. No general funds are involved in this one.
Any comments?
Yeah, what other kinds of social services are under that umbrella, Rod? So is this mostly food, but?
Social services at the,
Yeah,
at the units?
At these.
Basically, case coordination. I mean, if people were looking for housing, if they were looking for help with their Social Security, how to maneuver through that, all types of services you could think about in terms of what elderly may come across.
So we actually send staff there, or they get, or the actual centers get the dollars and provide their own staffing for those
Yeah, this is
programs?
outsourced to the local community, to the local senior centers.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, next.
All right, number 3, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental subrecipient agreement with the City of Lake Oswego Adult Community Center to provide social services for Clackamas County residents. The amount adds $42,497 with a maximum value of $125,726 with funding through the Older Americans Act and Ride Connection pass-through funds. No county general fund involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, this one too, we anticipate an increase in the Lake Oswego area. And so this additional $42,497 is to rebalance projected mills served to be closer to the anticipated amounts. And again, no general fund is involved in this.
Any questions for the presenter on this? Seeing none.
Number 4, approval to apply for a grant from Portland General Electric Drive Change Fund to purchase electric vehicles to provide services for seniors, persons with disabilities, and low-income households. The maximum agreement value is $425,000 with funding through Oregon Clean Fuels Program. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Funds here would be used to pay for 2 new electric transit vans for Transportation Reaching People program and for case managers. TRP provides rides to seniors and persons with disabilities countywide to medical appointments and other essential services. As the administrator mentioned, no general fund is involved in this.
Any comments on this item? Paul?
Just one, so Rod, are these like bigger than normal vans or passenger vans, or are these like more like bus vans?
I don't know. I can get that information for you. If it's like the other ones we have, they're kind of parked right out here. So they're about the middle-sized. It's like not as big as a van, not as big as a bus, but the next size up, like you see at an airport transit, about in that range.
This sounds a little, I mean, not questioning you at all, but it just sounds like $200,000 per is a little steep unless it's a bigger van. So I'm just kind of curious. I know electric vehicles are higher, but I just don't know what the market is on them.
Yeah, I could look into that and get you some more information on those vehicles. Because I know you're good with the mechanics, so I can get that information to you.
Yeah, it's a maximum too. It doesn't say,
Right.
so it might not be, it just gives us the authority to
Apply for
the grant. It doesn't say how much they are.
Gary, up next.
All right, number 5, approval of a subrecipient grant agreement with Juntos for youth marijuana and substance prevention services in rural Clackamas County. The amendment adds $60,000 with a maximum value of $240,000 and extends the end date to June 30, 2022. Funding is through marijuana tax revenue. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yeah, the primary goals of these services are to increase awareness of the effects of marijuana and other drugs, to incorporate anti-marijuana campaigns, and provide case management for at-risk youth. And again, noting that this is in the rural part of Clackamas County. No general funds, but this is the marijuana funds that flow through the county. So to me, it's kind of like general fund, but through the marijuana funds.
Any comments on this item? Seeing none.
Number 6, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon acting by and through its Oregon Health Authority for the operation and financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery, and prevention services and problem gambling programs. The amendment adds $14,000 with a maximum value of $8,746,212.18 with funding through the state of Oregon, Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, these funds provided through the amendment will increase capacity of youth and families served by the Crisis and Acute Transition Services Program. And again, no general funds are involved in this program.
Any comments? Gary, can we go back to number 5 for youth marijuana and substance abuse? Is that marijuana funds?
Yes.
Yes.
And those are general funds.
It's housed in the general fund line, but it is not property taxes. It's taxes that people who purchase marijuana pay to the counties. So it's revenue from people who purchase marijuana. It's
Thank
not
you, Gary,
property
for the
taxes.
clarification on that. Up next.
All right, number 7, approval to apply to the 2021-2023 request for grant proposals with the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for Special Court Grant Program Mental Health Court. The maximum agreement value is $254,768 with funding through the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, this is a renewal application to continue financial support of the existing county mental health treatment program and will help fund treatment, housing, and other supportive services. No general fund involved in this one.
Any comments from the presenter? Seeing none, next.
Number 8, approval to apply to the 2021-2023 request for grant proposals with State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for Specialty Court Grant Program, Adult Drug Court. The maximum agreement value is $242,484 with funding through the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, similar to the other, Health Centers has been a recipient of this funding for multiple cycles. This is a renewal application, and funds will be utilized to support the existing adult drug court program and will help fund treatment, housing, and other support services. No general fund.
Any comments on this item? Seeing none?
Number 9, approval to apply to the 2021-2023 request for grant proposals with the State of Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for Specialty Court Grant Program, DUII Court. The maximum value agreement is yet to be determined by the state. Funding is through the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. No county general funds involved. Go ahead, Rod.
And this is the same as previous, where the health centers will to include the DUI treatment court program and will help fund treatment, housing, and other supportive services to participants. No general fund. And the state has not given us a cap on the amount we can apply for yet, so that's why you don't see a number there.
Okay. Any comments on this item? Seeing none?
Number 10, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon acting by and through the State Department of Human Services for the Job Opportunity and Basic Skills, or JOBS, program. The maximum agreement value is $1,150,550.75 with funding through the State of Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, and this is the Job Opportunity and Basic Skills Program provides clients with employment and wraparound services. Oregon DHS, or Department of Human Services, referred clientele are provided with an employment and plan development, job preparation and placement, transition, and self-sufficiency services. And this is for a 2-year period. No general fund is involved in this.
Any comments? Seeing none. Gary?
Great, thank you, Rod. Next, disaster management. Daniel, come on down. Number 1, approval of a contract with DePaul Industries doing business as DPI Staffing to provide on-call temporary traffic control for COVID-19 vaccination sites. Funding is through the CARES Act. No county general fund is involved. Do you have a dollar amount, Daniel?
$150,000.
Okay, great. Anything to add?
This just adds another contractor. We've had lots of clinics, and we want to maintain within our procurement rules, so we're adding another contractor to provide those services.
I see this is funding through CARES. Is that the end of our CARES funding, and we're switching to something else? Yes or no?
We have other COVID grants, yes.
Okay, but not CARES.
It won't be, after the 30th, it won't be CARES.
Okay,
Correct.
thanks. Any other comments? Seeing none, next.
Number 2, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon acting by and through its Department of Administrative Services for vaccine equity and incentives. Maximum cost is $2,238,888.68, sorry, through the State of Oregon. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Daniel.
This will provide funding, about half of it will go to CBOs for outreach and discussing vaccine hesitancy, about $150,000 for gift cards at clinics, and the remainder for staff time to plan that and work some of the public information and other planning for the clinics.
Daniel, is this the extra incentive money that the governor talked about a month ago?
It is, correct.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other comments?
Just clarification, you meant
Go ahead.
CBOs, not CPOs, right?
Sorry, CBOs. Thank you.
What does that stand for?
Community-based organizations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
Next.
Number 3, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the State of Oregon acting by and through its Oregon Business Development Department and Clackamas County for receipt of personal protective equipment. There is no fiscal impact. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead, Daniel.
This documents some of the PPE that we received to hand out to businesses previously in the response. And so the state is coming back with agreements for that.
Great. How much was that again?
There was no cost to the
Oh, just
contract.
an agreement.
paid.
I'm sorry, I'm behind. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
All right. Number 4, approval of a fiscal year 18 State Homeland Security Program grant agreement extension between Clackamas County and the State of Oregon Regional Fuel Shortage Plan. The agreement will remain the same. There is no county general funds are involved. Daniel, go ahead.
This just extends the period of performance for the field management planning that we're doing so we can use up the last of those funds.
Okay. Any comments on this? Seeing none?
Great, thank you, Daniel. Finally, Tourism and Cultural Affairs. Samara, come on down. Approval of a contract to receive Regional Cooperative Tourism Program funds for fiscal year 2021 from Travel Portland. This is $169,511 revenue coming to us through Travel Portland's Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. There are no county general funds involved. Go ahead, Samara.
Thank you, Gary. The only thing that I would add is those funds are then directed to us to implement locally prioritized tourism tactics.
To prioritize what?
Locally prioritized tourism tactics. So we get to implement those as our tourism department sees fit.
We like money. Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none. Gary?
Okay, thank you, Samara. So again, with your permission, Chair and Commissioners, can we move all of these items to this Thursday's business meeting?
Yes.
Great. So you will now have a 10-page consent agenda item for this Thursday. I'll help Shannon read it. We can all read it if you want, but thank you for that. All right. Finally, Commissioner Communications. That's the final item for today.
Okay, let's do Commissioner Communications. We have time. Commissioner Schrader, would you like to start?
Yeah, I just want to let folks know that Rod Cook and I had a great meeting with General Stencil from the Oregon National Guard yesterday. One of the things that we talked about is how we can contact, and I know that Commissioner Shull is involved with this, because you're with another entity, Amen, I think?
American Military Encouragement Network
Yeah.
in Clackamas.
One of the things that we wanted to do with our Veterans Advisory Committee was to see if we could get them more directly involved in some of the organizations such as Amen more directly, and also to see if who are the contacts, you know, at Camp Withicum with their family programs. And when folks are deployed or brought back, what we can do. I mentioned they've been doing an incredible amount of work on the Oregon Military Museum. I thought a tour of the museum would be kind of a fun field trip for those folks to get them out and about. Rod and I suggested that we set up a time with the general and other staff, should he wish to take a look at our Veterans Village and the Clayton Moore Commons. It turns out that he has had a really pretty extensive working relationship with Northwest Housing Services, with Martha McClellan. So he has directly been involved with helping out as building capacity for housing in the county. So I think it'd be a really good piece. The other thing I didn't mention to him is, Madrone Park that we have, which is our climbing rock wall. We actually worked with the National Guard to help build that park. They actually helped us come out there to do things. And so there's some other opportunities with them, should we want to do some work with them under business and community development and helping to develop a park of some kind. Actually, I was kind of thinking of Will Hoyt Tootie, but we have to talk about that. We'll see what happens with that. Sure. So that was a really great conversation, and he also thinks that we should see if we can get somebody from ODVA on our VAC committee as well directly, who will come and just sit with us. And then also Kelly Fitzgerald, who's the head of the ODVA now. She comes to our veterans meetings oftentimes at the Association of Oregon Counties. So that was pretty cool. The other conversation I had was with Bridget Daisy, because Bridget has been a champion of this whole, it's actually kind of a national movement right now. And I think if you look at some of the information from NACO, there are national dollars coming in. One of the things they have found out during COVID is the lack of child care has been a significant issue for our business community, for their employees. I've just been thinking about it. I think it would be certainly under potentially grow a vibrant economy, because, you know, part of making sure that employees get the child care they need really helps build a business-friendly environment that will support the stability and growth of their businesses. I know my own daughter had childcare, and even though they were home during COVID, they brought their youngster to childcare because he would lose his spot. So it's a huge, evidently, it's a huge issue. So if it's all right with folks, I know that Commissioner Fisher is interested in this as well, to take a look at that, and maybe as we work with our superintendents again to see what that balance is between preschool, childcare, and after-school programs, because it really helps stabilize working parents so they can go to work and help businesses grow in the county. So that's kind of the nexus I'm making. So Gary, if I get in trouble in that, you just make sure you let me know, okay? if I'm going off the grid here a little bit, but, you know, at least we can put it down for the future, if not, you know, anything immediate. But I know Bridget is very interested in this, and I think that what I'm seeing nationally, the time seems to be ripe for us to actually take a closer look at this for our business community.
Yep, I agree.
So, okay, so that's
Okay.
it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Commissioner Schull?
Yes. Good morning. We have a large problem in the county with people with mental health issues. Yesterday morning, I had a tour of the Clackamas County Mental Health Center. The center is a supportive place where people in crisis can talk to a counselor or peer support advocate for information, resources, treatment, and support. It's located right here on 82nd Avenue at 11211, 82nd Avenue, right across from Clackamas Town Center. The center is open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. Individuals can make an appointment by calling, this is important, this number, 503-655-8585, or by visiting the center during business hours. I was very impressed with the Clackamas Mental Health Center, and Mary Rumbaugh and Dr. Jeffrey Anderson gave me a tour, which I very much appreciated. And I want to encourage people to get this word out, that you have a very, very good center right here in Clackamas County for anybody who might be feeling they need to see a counselor for support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schull. Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Couple things. Yesterday, the Aging Services Advisory Council met. It was a meeting outdoors under our pavilion. Where am I? I think it's that way. Is that right, Gary? Well, it's the Behavioral Health Pavilion. It was a wonderful space that for us to meet outdoors. I think we should encourage that space more often for gatherings and meetings. It's really, really nice, and it's just right there, really, really close. So that was good. A lot of the concerns from people are what we just talked about today with wildfires and energy shuts off, and how do we get ready for the next disaster, making sure people have the support they need. Lots of really good conversation from folks. Gally Murray came and gave a presentation which provided information that I didn't know. The largest in Clackamas County, the highest percentage of individuals committing suicide are males between the ages of 45 and I can't remember the top end of that number, I'm so sorry, but middle-aged white men, and talked about that is the area that she's really focusing on, is how do we do outreach. And the group was amazing, and the questions they asked, the conversations, and it really comes down to mental health first aid. Is if somebody's bleeding, we don't even hesitate to go over and say, oh my gosh, let me get you a bandage, let me do this, let me do that. But if somebody is showing signs of mental distress or depression, we don't automatically know what to do. So we are leaders in Clackamas County with mental health first aid, in how do you ask the question. So she gave a great presentation. I really encourage all of our commissioners to, it's called Get Trained. What's it, Gary, Get Trained to Help? I can't remember exactly the tagline, but I've been through some training. I think other commissioners have. I really want to enforce that for all of us. And there's just a lot of work to be done, but it was a really excellent meeting. I want to piggyback on some things that Commissioner Schrader said. We had a meeting with Bridget Daisy about the whole idea of childcare as infrastructure and what we're doing to supporting families as we recover out of this pandemic. And one of the just realities of what we're facing is Multnomah County is implementing preschool for all. Washington County is on a path to do that for preschool for all and childcare. Clackamas County is not on that path, but what will happen, the workforce is such an important part of childcare. We do not have the workforce, but the workforce will be going. Even our Clackamas County folks will be heading to Multnomah and Washington County because they will be able to, with their efforts, support the childcare and preschool infrastructure, of which we are not prepared or ready to do that. So it is an issue that's beyond the pandemic. It's beyond just helping, providing that continuum and helping children. It's could be a real crisis point for our families in Clackamas County. So it's worth further discussion about what should we do and what can the county lead with. Commissioner Schrader has had a lot of experience and knowledge about appreciative inquiry, which is just an idea of really engaging community on what this might look like. And we probably need more about that in the future to talk about that. And quite frankly, it's part of our growing a vibrant economy and part of our infrastructure. And it's a very important piece. So that was another thing I wanted to say. Also today, for the last, how long have I been a commissioner? Has it been 4, 5, 6? For as long as I've been a commissioner, it's been a while now, since 2017, I have had the honor and privilege of participating in our volunteer recognition luncheon for Health, Housing, Human Services, for our folks that drive seniors and people with disabilities, that help them with money management, that help them with benefits. We have so many volunteers in Clackamas County, and we do it at the Abernathy Center. The room would be packed with people, and the stories that I would hear from people about how they helped others was so inspiring. Well, today they are not having a luncheon. They are doing a drive-through event at 11:30 in 8 minutes in our parking lot. So I'm going to be doing a few little hand waves. I encourage my other commissioners, and I know we have other meetings today, but just to come and join me in thanking those volunteers, that would be wonderful. And then lastly, Juneteenth was our county recognized that on Thursday. I was pleased to participate in Oregon City's celebration. I grabbed the mayor's proclamation that they read, that they did for their Juneteenth celebration, and I went back and read what we did last year for our proclamation. We were a little bit ahead of the country on that, which was nice, but the events in Oregon City and Lake Oswego were the two that I were able to attend, and they were just absolutely inspiring and wonderful. So I'm hoping that as we move through with that event, that we can do, more outreach and more awareness about what those events are, so we as a commission can attend some of these things in group. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. I've got some, I guess I'll say exciting news, so to speak, and that is that after several years of being in a hiatus of sorts, the NCPRD, District Advisory Committee, new members and group met Wednesday evening for their orientation. So it was great to see see them get started. So that's exciting. They'll be meeting monthly unless there's a change. So that was great to see. Last evening, Commissioner Schrader and I participated in the workforce listing session. I think I was struck by how many people expressed difficulties. I won't say seniors, but I guess, you know,
Ageism.
yeah, people my age or so, younger, a little older, having trouble getting jobs and using the word discrimination, age discrimination. So I don't know if it was actually cases, but they felt as though that they were at least discriminated. So I just thought that was interesting. So many people had chimed in on that and repeated that. It was kind of interesting. So I just do wonder if the labor shortage is, you know, that's in certain fields and so forth. But I have found, at least in my fields, is that, you know, what they call us, the gray hairs, that we were a sought-after commodity because of that skill sets, that range of old skills and new skills and that mix of skills. So, you know, I always found that it was very, if anyone in my field wanted to go to work, it was very easy to find work because we were sought after. So I'm not sure how that applies to other industries. And, next week, under issues, I will be bringing something to you, just to give you just a teaser. The region, or metro region, Portland Metro, did a congestion pricing study for local roads. And as that was being rolled out, we heard different, I recall hearing different things at least. And so we had a discussion at JPAC on Thursday morning about that. I'll be bringing you some more things, but it just kind of raised some alarm bells for me. I think I made a statement that went something like this. It just seems as though that we are capitalizing on our disinvestment of building capacity, and we are now looking at charging people the revenue for the congestion that we created as a result of that disinvestment, so to speak, capitalizing on that disinvestment, and yet we still need that capacity in certain areas where we don't have adequate capacity. Not enough focus, frankly, on what we need to meet our economic needs for moving goods and services, frankly, and I don't exactly, I want to bring you the policy stuff because they're going to be asking us to make a decision in July. So I hope to bring to you and our DTD staff, you know, some kind of discussion, work session on this matter. So it's not anything at length, but, you know, I think it's important that next July that whatever it is I vote for, it reflects the Commission's wishes. So just look out for that one. We'll talk more. And I have to leave for something, so I'll be checking out right now, Chair.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I'll be back at 1:30.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I appreciate your updates on that. As you know, I meet with the tri-chairs every Monday night. Leo Horner sometimes accompanies us. And as you know, many of you have asked about what the state government will be doing about face coverings once the 70% threshold is met. Right now, Oregon is at 68.2% vax rate for 18 and older. Oregon's risk level framework, including all restrictions, will be lifted. This includes mask, physical distancing, and capacity limit requirements. 2, the state will not require masks and face coverings in almost all settings, with some exceptions following the federal guidance, such as airports, public transit, correctional settings, and healthcare. 3, because the same mask and social distancing rules will apply for all individuals, vaccinated or unvaccinated, vaccine verification will not be necessary. It will also be strongly recommended that unvaccinated individuals or other vulnerable individuals continue to wear masks and practice other health and safety measures to stay safe. That's your own choice. And then there's this long email, which I plan on forwarding it to my commissioners, because there's some interesting employment information on that. Next Wednesday, the 30th at 2:30, there's a class that we all may want to take, and it's employment briefing for elected officials. Because the state is going to continue with the payment of unemployment benefits, which I submit is going to be a hardship on our businesses to find people who want to go to work. So we do have an employment and a labor shortage in this county. I plan on attending, but I would really like another set of ears on that Zoom meeting with me for anybody. We will
Send that to us, yeah.
yeah, I'll have Emily or I'll send it to you. An overview of what to expect over the summer as we begin to transition back to reemployment efforts. More traditional unemployment eligibility, enhanced benefits expire in September. We'll aim to set expectations for this transition, but I think it's important that we move forward, and I appreciate Commissioner Schrader and Fisher talking about the employment situation and child care. I do plan on bringing something forward soon to address that in the employment very soon. So with that in mind, we're in recess until 1:30. Thank you, Commissioners.